Steve Bowers welcoming you to Dialogue at E+ TV6 and a very special edition of Dialogue. We're teaming up with Willie X. Evans. We kind of call these Nashville and Parts Unknown, and I don't know where we're headed, Willie, but we're headed somewhere.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Max. Hey, August. Hey, Millie.
Those are grandchildren, if you haven't figured this out. So, we got to get those greetings out there. How you doing, by the way? It's been a while since we've talked.
I'm doing good, Steve. Okay. Right, doing fine.
Tell us about our special guest today.
I will. I want to tell you, this Zoom thing is pretty unique. And my wife said, you might get a suit. And I said, honey, this is Zoom. All I need is a clean shirt as long as I don't stand up. So I've got on the clean shirt. This guy has played guitar with Glenn Campbell, but something equally cool, I think, is he was on some episodes of the new Hawaii 5-0 when it was going strong. So he's this is Mr. Jeff Dayton from Nash Vegas, Tennessee.
Oh man, Jeff, good to have you with us, Jeff.
Good to be had.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how did Hawaii 5-0 come about? Because I want to focus on the music. But what happened there?
Well, I was playing a festival on the island of Kauai called the Kauai Music Festival, and it was a songwriters conference, and there was a big Saturday night concert, and there was a young kid, I think he was 12, 11 years old, and he played ukulele. He was from Hawaii there, and his mom was there, and she was interested in the fact that I wrote songs, and she wanted to know if I'd write a song with him or for him, and I said, yeah, sure, and she said, are you going back to Nashville now? I said, actually, no, I'm going back to Waikiki on the island of Oahu because I've got a couple of shows to do and another little festival. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to find where they film Hawaii 5-0. It's my favorite TV show. And I'm going to see if I can sneak in the back as an extra. And she goes, I'm one of the show's producers. I was like, I about dropped right there. And she handed me her card and she said, I'm legit. Call me Monday and we'll set it up. And I called her. I was back on Oahu Sunday and called her Monday. And I was at casting, and Thursday I was in wardrobe, and we were shooting our first episode at prison.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was I was a SWAT guy in that episode. She said I played a dead guy better than anybody she's ever seen. Except every time that the explosions would go off, I'd flinch, but they weren't on me at that point, so they missed that.
Was that your first time or only time to be on a set and do that kind of acting?
No, actually, I'd already done a bunch of Nashville episodes, here in town.
Okay.
And I did a bunch of those, and I did a couple of movies, and went back and actually did 2 more episodes of 5-0, and one of them I was a Secret Service agent, which I really liked that. They called me, a good guy, and suit and the sunglasses and all that. Yeah. And then I was in another series on Netflix called Messiah that came out. So I enjoy it. It's fun.
So do you continue to pursue that if something comes open? Or?
Well, it's something to do that's fun on the side, but no, I'm concentrating on the music. I don't actually play on these shows, which is the other part. I've had my songs used, which is awesome because then we get a little placement money for that. But no, I'm a writer and picker and road dog like everybody else. I just love doing this thing that we call music.
Music. Well, how did that start for you, Jeff? Music.
5 years old, I was crazy about the Kingston Trio, which gives you an indication of my age. And ironically, years later, I ended up producing them for a project. But
is that right? Wow.
Yeah, but by the time I was 9, I had a ukulele, they say over there, and I'd beat the strings right off it. But I was jamming along, man. I was like Eddie Van Halen, although there was no Eddie at that point. Okay. And the Beatles and all that stuff. And I got my first guitar at 9 in 4th grade. And it was
you were raised where? You lived where?
I lived in Minnesota. That's where my mom and dad were.
Oh, okay.
And I was there for years and did all a bunch of stuff and went to college and played in the jazz band and played in, I played the cello in the orchestra and just all sorts of stuff. I never had any kind of like mental boundary of where I fit in. And I was always kind of the token country boy. Everybody else in the band wanted to do Aerosmith and Skynyrd and David Bowie. And I wanted to do Crosby, Stills and Nash and Poco and stuff like that.
Okay.
And ended up in Phoenix in late 79 and right away got into more music and Urban Cowboy hit. And I was there with my hat and Wranglers and we were riding high, man. We had a great time. And, and then I got that George Strait cut and the doors flew open here in Nashville. And And we were coming over here as the winners of these big national contests like the Wrangler, which is the Colgate now,
Right.
and the Marlboro and all that. So
Were you,
yeah.
was that with the band?
Yeah, this is the band that eventually became Glenn Campbell's band, the Jeff Dayton
Okay.
band. Yeah.
But it was put together in Arizona.
Well, yeah, when I got to Phoenix, you know, we had a couple of different names, and by the time Glenn came along, we were already called the Jeff Dayton Band, and we had a #1 record out in the desert there at KNIX, which was, as you know from radio,
Right.
that was Buck Owens' family station.
Yeah.
And it had never happened before, hasn't happened since.
Was Waylon Jennings was working Arizona, right, before he came to Nashville?
Yeah, he and Marty Robbins had roots out there. And there's a great book that just came out. My friend Jim West wrote it, and it's at Amazon, and it's called KNIX, The Buck Owens Years. You got to check it out. There's a lot of history.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so it's had its kind of its own music root and scene out there.
Yeah, definitely. And there's still strong music out there. It's a great little hotbed. And if you think about how many people here in Nashville that are top tier musicians like Matt Rawlings and Ray Herndon when he was here, Billy Williams, you know, people, Mark Prentice, Matt McKenzie, guys who have been here doing sessions in the road forever, they're all out of Phoenix.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that it was that extensive.
Yeah, it's pretty darn good. You know, it's a good town to be from. And Western music and country music are first cousins anyway, as they used to say, right?
I didn't know until a few years ago, Bill Boyd, who started the Academy, was from Jackson, Tennessee.
Really? Well, I knew Bill and Fran both a little bit, and, you know, they were often called in as judges for these contests that I was in.
Yeah, it was just amazing. We have a museum here at the Carnegie, the Legends of Tennessee Music. They had a display about Bill Boyd, and I was not familiar with him. And then find out he started that whole Academy of Country Music, or country Western music as it was then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He came out of Armed Forces Radio is how he did it, and wound up on the West Coast. And so he's got direct Jackson ties.
He was a great guy.
You slid right past a George Strait cut as if that was just kind of an incidental thing. I wanted to explore that for a second.
All you want, man.
Okay. So you get a George Strait cut, and you're going to wind up going to Nashville. So you just don't pitch a song to George Strait. How did that happen?
Well, you know, these are the things that I've never heard of happening to anybody else. But I wrote a song and I did a terrible demo on a little 4-track tape recorder, you know, and I had a little drum machine that went boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom. So that was already annoying enough. And I had a bass guitar that I had traded a guy 4 Mars bars for this bass. So it was a piece of work too, you know. And I had a classical guitar that I used because I was going to Arizona State studying, finally got my degree there. And I had my steel guitar, you know, my old Emmons. And I made a little cassette, and I took one to a girl who was going to the concert at Graham Central Station in Phoenix. And George was new then. I mean, he'd had Unwound,
okay. Yeah.
Right or Wrong, you know, Marina Del Rey, you know, some of that. And I went backstage. I knew enough about sound check to go during the day. And I talked to the local band that was opening, and I handed them a cassette. And I had to go work at, I don't remember, Mr. Lucky's or something. And I got a letter from Irv Woolsey about a month later, and Irv, you know, George's manager.
Right.
And he said, we got your tape, and we listened to it on the bus on the way out of town, and we love it, and we want to put it on the new record.
Holy
And that was the Does Fort Worth Ever Cross Your Mind album.
Wow. Okay.
And so I, you know, my first wife, she found out how much money I was making. She said, we need new furniture and window coverings. So I thought, well, that's okay, because George will cut one of my songs every album, and we'll just get new furniture every year.
Yeah. So easy, right?
If only. Only. Yeah.
Well, and those were the days, you know, getting an album cut represented money in those days. You know, it was just a totally different thing. So that then spun you into Nashville.
It did. Well, I mean, I'd already been here once with the Wrangler Country Showdown, and we played the Opry, we played the old Roy Acuff Theater at Opryland, and you know, I got exposed to what I call songwriting ether. And I got to meet guys like Jim Vino over at Acuff Rose, and I met Danny Davis, and I met Charlie Bragg, who was at Iffen, but he'd been an engineer over at the Quonset Hut. You know, he engineered the Statler Brothers and Johnny Cash and all these people, and Bob Dylan. He worked on this Nashville Skyline record. And so I already knew that this was a cool town, and I wanted to be here.
Okay. So that became a perfect fit for. Had you always wanted to be a songwriter, or did that just kind of evolve?
I think so. I mean, I remember as a kid, you know, you look underneath the title of a song on an album or a 45, and there was parentheses under
Right,
there.
yeah.
And that's where the songwriter's name went. I went, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
I like that spot. I want to go for that.
That's a good spot to be. Jeff
Yeah.
Dayton is with us. Willie X Evans setting this up. We're calling this Nashville and Parts Unknown. Special discussion about music. Jeff's got a song or two. We're going to do one and continue this conversation on Dialogue here at E+ TV6. Welcome back to Dialogue at E+ TV6 and a conversation with Jeff Dayton. Willie X Evans setting all this up. We're calling it a special Nashville and Parts Unknown edition of Dialogue. We've been talking about music and we're going to continue the conversation, but Jeff, you got a song that we can hear.
I'd love to do one for you. Here you go. I don't walk a straight and narrow. I don't care if people stare or not. No, I don't need no criticizing. People try to change my mind. So what? 'Cause I can't wear somebody else's shoes. I can only be me, win or lose. So walk with me and stand by me and live like we like and we love. We'll ride the tide with sails on high, fearless and reckless and tough. I dance like I feel it, I call it like I see it, I sing like I was born to do. Don't take me for granted, I stand where I'm planted, and most of all, I stand for you. 'Cause I live my truth. Yeah, one thing that I've learned from living, some will love you, some won't give a rip. That's the truth. No, I'm not yellow, blue, or green. There's a color in between, and I'm it. 'Cause when you're made by the master's hand, there's no way to be a different man. So walk with me, stand by me, and live like we like and we love. We'll ride the tide with sails on high, fearless and reckless and tough. I dance like I feel it, I call it like I see it, I sing like I was born to do. Don't take me for granted, I stand where I'm planted, and most of all, I stand for you. 'Cause I live my truth. Yeah, I live my truth. Yeah, I live my truth.
Awesome.
That's good stuff.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. That
Thank
song,
you.
if you pitched that, has it been recorded by somebody? What?
No, it's just by me. I mean, I put it out as the title track of an album a few albums ago. I'm working on my 15th album right now.
Well, how do
Yeah.
people
Gill
find?
had the best line about that all. He said, "I can't prove it because nobody got none of them." But I keep doing it. I mean, this is dreaming for a living here.
Yeah.
And so many of us that have lost all of our, I mean, even Kenny Chesney and those guys. I used to play with Kenny too. And
Right.
he's just throwing, little videos out from the islands. And now here's my new
Right.
run. And we're done as far as touring for a while.
Yeah. Jeff
So-
Dayton with us. Jeff, where do people find this music?
Well, it's all over on the streaming stuffs, Amazon Digital, Apple Music. You can get it on Spotify. You can go to bandcamp.com and they've got it. You can actually buy downloads. Remember downloads?
Oh, yeah. Well, do you, I hate to date myself, but I still get CDs if I can find them.
Yeah, yeah.
Are CDs available of this?
Yeah, they will be. And you can get them through my website, jeffdaytonmusic.com. And the album is going to be released physically in early April, but digitally in late March.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
I tell people, like, when I would walk into Best Buy, a few years ago, they say, "Oh, Mr. Bowers is here. We're going to sell some CDs today," because the section kept going down.
Oh man, I know. And then
You know,
there's nothing left out there. You can't even
I
find
know
it.
it just.
Remember record stores?
I stopped at a
Yeah.
vinyl store there in Franklin in the factory there. They had a vinyl store. I was up for a conference a few years ago, and I said, "Who's buying this?" And the lady said, "Well," she said, "record collectors come through here, but she said, young people are buying it." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "They've never seen music. They've never held it. They don't know anything about liner notes." She said, "It fascinated. Album art."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe it will come back.
Yeah, I loved
Well,
reading liner notes as a kid. I just thought that was great.
yeah, Willie had mentioned that you did work with Glenn Campbell. When was that, and how did that come about?
During the Phoenix days, and we had that aforementioned #1 out there at KNX, and we were riding high, and we were opening concerts for everybody, and the Marlboro contest came through, and we won that one too. And we were playing the Coliseum, the old Veterans Coliseum held about 15,000 that night. And it was Alabama and the Judds and Merle Haggard and the Jeff Dayton band. And we got our spot at the beginning, and Glenn was pals with Haggard, which I didn't know but what kind of history that was.
All right. Okay.
I mean, Glenn, I'd like to settle down, but
Yeah.
they won't let me. That's Glenn and Bonnie Owens singing harmony on that.
Oh, is
Next
that
time
right?
you go to listen to that, that's Buck Sex, yeah.
I didn't
And,
know that.
Yeah, well, I got all
I mean, I
kinds
knew
of
he was
that.
West Coast, but I didn't know that he got tied into all that.
Oh yeah, he played on Haggard stuff, and Merle Haggard called him here at the Opry when Glenn was doing his last show at the Opry. I was there with him, and
Oh, is all right. Okay.
and they said, "Hey, Glenn," it was Frank Mull handed him the phone, and said, "Merle Haggard wants to say hi,"
Okay.
and it was Glenn was fading, but anyway, memory wise, I mean.
Right.
And then Glenn came to see his old pal Haggard, and he asked to come meet me. And he said, "I love your band. I love what you're playing. I love your original stuff." And I was like, "Great," And then he vanished. I was like, "Doggone it. I'm never going to get to talk to him again." And the very next night, we were playing a private event for Jack Nicklaus at a golf course in Carefree, Arizona.
Okay.
And there was Glenn Campbell having dinner with Jack. And I walked up to him and said, "Hey, we're old friends, right?" So I said, "If you want to sit in, man, come on up." He goes, "Well, you know all my songs?" I'm like, "I'm not going to tell him we've never played any of them." But, "Yeah, sure, we know." And he got up and we jammed on I think we did, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, and maybe Try a Little Kindness and a few of those, and Rocky Top and some old Bob Wills, because we had twin
Oh,
fiddles, and he loved that, And he was an old Western, Albuquerque and all those years playing Western music. And so he called me up a couple days later. I didn't get a chance to give him my phone number. He vanished again, but he said, he called me 2 days later. He said, "You're a hard guy to find." I said, "Well, it would help if you asked for my number, but." And he said, "I let go of my band and I want to start up again. And how about you guys join me and you can be my band leader?" Like, all right. So that's what we did. I was there from 87 until 2002.
Wow.
That's a good run. Wow.
Yeah, good one.
That's a
very
good-
few jobs like that,
Yeah.
The guys with Alan Jackson, the guys with, people like that. Kenny's got some guys who've been there 25 years. My friend Sean Paddock and Wyatt Beard, those guys have both been there.
So you mentioned working Hee Haw and everything else. So y'all did all the stuff that he did.
Pretty much, yeah. Got to, get to do, all the fun stuff. We played with, we did back when Gene Autry, you were talking about Bill Boyd, Gene Autry was building his Western Heritage Museum in Los Angeles, and he did a big fundraiser at the Century Plaza Hotel. And Glenn was there for that, and our band, of course. And Willie Nelson was there, and Glenn said, "Hey, Willie needs a band for tonight. Would you guys mind being the band?" I'm like, "Heck yeah." So we ended up playing a whole show with Willie. And at the end, Gene Autry and Pat Buttram walked up on stage. And
Holy cow.
And I'm back in the saddle again.
Yeah.
Out where a friend is a friend. And you could have knocked me over with a feather.
Wow.
Yeah.
Had you
So
all
that kind of stuff happened all the time. And then these young guys would come up, these young pickers like this guy named Vince Gill, and he's opening for us out. And Vince was already a monster player, but he was new as an artist, And this young kid came up, our publisher, Marty Gamblin, came up behind us at the GEC back when the Gaylord was named that or whatever it was. And he goes, "Hey, this young fella here wants to meet Glenn." He said, "May I meet Mr. Campbell, please?" And it was this young kid named Keith Urban, and all the pickers had their hat in their hand,
There you go. Well, I could tell already we're going to run out of time before we run out of stories. Jeff Dayton and Willie X. Evans is with us. We'll be right back as we continue this dialogue on E+ TV. Welcome back to Dialogue at E+ TV6, a special edition with Willie X. Evans, Nashville and Parts Unknown. And Willie, you're moving back into Jackson, Tennessee, I understand.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
Sir. Back.
Well, it'll be good to have you back home. You know what?
They're around the streets again.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing like Jeff Dayton with us, and we've been sharing stories. So you played with Campbell up through 2002. What brought that to an end, Jeff? And where did you go from there?
Well, Glenn wanted to downsize the band a little bit, and I was writing for his publishing company, and so we talked about it. And he said, just keep writing for me, and that's what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, the first thing that happened was Lee Greenwood's guitar player, John Conley, called me, and he said, "Man, I'm so sorry, but I busted my hand out here, and we need you here tomorrow." And so there I was with Lee Greenwood for 3 years.
Okay.
And right after that, Sean Paddock called me from Kenny Chesney's band, and he said, "Hey, we got a whole we just kicked off our new tour, but we got to get somebody in here right away because Tim's got to go on an emergency medical leave, and we need you here Tuesday." And so I was off with Kenny for that Margaritas and Senoritas tour, and just, that kind of stuff kept happening. And pretty soon I was writing for Curb, and then I was writing for Black River, and, that's Kelsey Ballerini's label. And,
Jeff, how do you balance all that? Because road has its own demands out there.
It does. Yeah. And as we know, there's been no road for the last year. So I've been just sitting here in front of this screen, a lot.
Yeah.
But
is it coming back at all?
Yeah, it will. It will.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the people are, they're clamoring for it. When they finally open the gates and let us out at 100% capacity, people are going to eat up live music.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I was stunned to hear Jenny Tolman was on with us yesterday. And that, CMA Fest has already been canceled again this year in Nashville, which is just a huge tourism blow.
Yeah. Well, and we know, it's been tough for Nashville in terms of revenue, and, downtown has had all its hands full and just trying to keep people to socially distance and wear masks. It just is, they want to come to town and they want to hear the music that we do. And it's a tough time. What's that?
What is the key to you for you? What has it been in writing? Because you obviously do a lot of it and have done a lot of it down through the years successfully. Is there a process, or is it just a gift? What is this?
Man, I don't know. I've been spending a lot of time on YouTube listening to interviews and listening to people talk, listening to great writers and great artists and stuff like that. And I think, you just got to follow the muse that you have. Each of us has something to say, and there's a line in one of my songs that, the song is called Calypso Poet. I always wanted to live my life like some mysterious novelist. I'd sit in front of my Smith Corona with nothing to say, but everybody's got a story inside. Mine just needed an audience. And so it goes like that, I could know that. But anyway, I typically start with a title, because if I just play guitar, if I'm just, I go like, I can groove all day. I can make stuff up left and right, change the chords around, but what have I got to say? Okay. And there's been enough of the repetition, and as we know, and radio has been guilty. No offense to anybody.
No, that's true.
We repeat ourselves like we're hooked to the tailpipe. We aren't getting any fresh air a lot of times, and I'm guilty of that too. But
what has made that work? And I wondered about that, because when I listen to Merle Haggard and other things, and people that Leona Williams, people that are I consider great country writers, this repetition in that every fourth phrase has got to rhyme, or every fourth word's got to rhyme kind of thing out there is a totally different style. It's taken over this music. And I just wonder when that happened, or what's the reason for it. I don't know.
I don't think I've got the answer. I don't have the clear picture of that. It just happened, but Vince Gill was really good when he was asked about what he thought about today's country. And he said, well, it's not my cup of tea, but then again, I wasn't Merle Haggard's cup of tea. Right. So it's sort of, it's evolving. And for me, luckily, I was raised around classic writing. I adored Roger Miller growing up. I was a huge fan of the Byrds. I got into Haggard and all the great country writers. Bob McDill, oh my God, the man could not write a bad song, in my opinion, and I ate that stuff up, and Sonny Throckmorton and Ed Bruce's stuff, and all the people that were great writers, Dean Dillon, and you start to absorb what that is. And then you're around Glenn Campbell and you get like another big plate full of Jimmy Webb, and you're eating that for years, and you're absorbing the poetry and the artistry of a master writer. And you can't help it being different from, you're not going to write another. Well, like Glenn used to say, walked in a bar, sitting in a bar, you walked in, I got drunk and punched your friend. I mean, just like whatever's the story of the week. It's hard to be fresh. You know, Alan Shamblin, great writer. He wrote The House That Built Me. He's one of the guys on that. And he said, what
Okay.
you going to rhyme with? Love today, love today. You know, it's the challenge of the writers. And so I'm always, Dennis Morgan said it. He said, everything that was meant to be said or that could be said was said by Shakespeare's time. So we just have to find new and fresh ways to do it.
Do it. Yeah.
And so when I stumble on a title like Live My Truth, I chase that baby.
Okay. Yeah. So it's there. I just wonder, all kinds of writing, you know, people that do novels, people that do short stories, people that do poems.
Yeah.
Songwriting's got its own, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And it says a lot in a few words.
It's a 3-minute movie with a groove.
Yeah, it is. But it says a lot. I think that's been the one thing that's attracted people to Nashville is that they're storytellers and they're extremely good.
And the best are the best, man. They're so good.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
And we are surrounded by the best of the best. I mean, you know, I played the Bluebird one time and they said, don't sit next to Tony Arata when you play the Bluebird. And so I purposely sat across from him because the guy that wrote the dance, you know,
Right,
and he slapped us upside the head with every one of his songs, you know. I mean, there's just, you can't help it, you know. It's such a rich, full town to be in and get your hat handed to you every single day. I love that. I love that. You know, it's a challenge for me. And that's why, you know, when I started working on this record, I was just going to do, you know, 10 songs and then it was 12, then it was 16. And now it's 25 songs, 2 discs in a single package.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that will be out in April?
It'll be out physically in April and it'll be online digitally at the end of March. We're just getting, you know, the artwork together.
And it's jeffdaytonmusic.com, right?
That's right. That's right, Steve. Yeah.
All right.
I'm excited about it. You know, I mean, it's what we do. I mean, this is the process for us. You like being on air. Willie, you know, same thing, you know.
Right.
Willie's over there asking for all this attention though. How you doing, Willie? You know?
Yeah. He keeps breaking in, Jeff. I don't know what to do with him, you know.
You know, that looks like a Chamber of Commerce picture behind you there.
It does. It looks like a green screen shot, and it's really, I mean, Willie's in his yard, which the Chamber of Commerce has got to love that, Willie, you know.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to showcase Jackson, it's like, okay, man, this is terrific.
Yeah, that blue sky, man, it looks good. It's good here in Donaldson too. I live right here, you know, in kind of the area just south of Madison. There's the train going by.
Was it a year ago for the tornado?
Yeah, today. Oh my gosh, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I missed my house by about a block and a half, right through this neighborhood.
And what a recovery.
Still a lot of houses that aren't done. I mean, a lot of shells. Yeah.
Yeah, we got about a minute. You guys think we can go out with? It's really good to see you. I hope we can do this.
Oh, man, thank you. Well, I'm going to just throw something on. Oops, where'd I go? Am I still with you?
Yes.
Okay, you guys still me? I'm going to play a little bit of this track. This is coming on the new record, and I hope everybody will check it out.
All right. Stay with us at E+ TV6 where the dialogue continues. Jeff, thank you a lot.
Thank you so much,
Willie,
Steve. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, Tom.
Sir.
My friend Kelly Mcguire is the guest artist on this. Right. Kelly's a great trop rock artist. I always wanted to live my life like some mysterious novelist, but I'd sit in front of my Smith Corona with nothing on the page. Now everybody's got a story inside. Mine just needed an audience. So I made a sandwich with mayo and bologna, and I was well on my way. Cheap hotels, rusty old cars, shirts that smell like last night's bars. I'm on a roll and nobody knows it. Living the life of a calypso poet. Living the life of a calypso poet.
And warm, where I don't need my shoes.
That's Kelly Mcguire there. Yeah.
South Miami in the winter time sure beats the cold in London. I play the bars from the Carolina shores to Coco Bongo, Cancun, Alabama on the yacht club side,
Alabama,
Manhattan Beach at Grunions.
Cheap hotels, rusty old cars, shirts that smell